But we are going to talk about a fantastic showman in this episode.
Okay.
Donald J. Trump.
So Orange Man.
Orange Man. Orange Man bad is what they say.
I was expecting the internet to be broke.
Yeah, it wasn't an overwhelming, like he didn't just get on there and say crazy things and do like Donald Trump stuff that
For
we
the record,
know him
we're talking
for.
about the Joe Rogan podcast that Donald Trump did.
Yeah, Donald Trump was recently on. It's episode 2219. You can find it
Anywhere.
Yeah, for forever now.
But what's funny is they're not pushing it on YouTube or anything, and it's got like 28 million views.
I listened to it. Today's Monday, so I listened to it as soon as it came out Friday. I was up till like 2 o'clock in the morning listening to it, and then I've heard it like 2 or 3 other times on Spotify and YouTube. And I went to, when I got here today earlier, I went to pull it up and I couldn't find it. You go on YouTube and you search Joe Rogan and then a number.
You got to go to his page.
Yeah, I had to go to his page where I'm subscribed and all, and I found it, but it wasn't. You couldn't find it in the search.
Obvious.
Yeah, and at last check, where was he? He was at 34 million views.
It was at 26 this morning.
Yeah. So as of I think 4 o'clock today, he was at 34 million views.
Another 10 million in like 12 hours.
Yeah. No, it's already, I think, his 6th highest episode ever. Yeah, I just searched for it. I don't see it.
The highest one. Watched.
Oh yeah. 3 days in, he's already halfway. The highest one ever was an episode with Elon Musk. It had 69 million views. And this is YouTube views.
That was probably the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he got on there and smoked weed with Elon and everything, that actually broke the internet. Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking right now and I can't find him.
Well, I will say, just to start off, I was a little let down.
Yeah.
Because I listen to Joe Rogan almost religiously. I listen to a lot of his shows, unless it's just somebody I really don't care that he's talking to. I was expecting him to come on Joe Rogan and give us some stuff we haven't had since Joe Rogan was such a big deal. But really, as far as information goes, he really didn't give us anything that we didn't already know.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of new info there.
He did, like we said earlier before we started, he did come off a little more human.
Yeah.
Just because, he sat down and talked to somebody 3 hours straight.
But he's been doing a lot of that though. So he was on Dave Ramsey. I guess it's been a couple months ago now, and it wasn't super long. It was 30-ish minutes, but then he's done.
He was on Theo's for an hour.
He was on Theo Vaughn for an hour. He was on, who else? Was he on Sean Ryan? Who else's show did he go on? Lex Friedman, somebody.
Yeah.
But he's sitting down and having these long form conversations. And one thing that you can't do over the course of an hour or 3 hours is be entirely phony. Like you could probably fake it to some degree.
Yeah.
But that's what we saw. Like you said, it humanized him, made him like a person. Early in the episode.
I did see the politician in him.
Yeah. Well, the guy's running for president.
Yeah.
Right?
It felt like to me, like he knew walking into that room that Joe Rogan's not the biggest fan of his. Like in this election, Joe Rogan might lean more toward him, maybe.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. But he kept kind of puffing Joe up a little bit here and there. Like, you know, in your type of work,
Right.
kind of pumping him up a little bit. And I'm like, he's trying to make friends with the guy. Like he's trying to find some common ground there. And they did with the Dana White conversation, because apparently Trump is one of the reasons Dana White is so successful, apparently.
Yeah, he sort of bailed the UFC out early on because the thing was just hemorrhaging money.
And he gave them a place to be or something.
Right, gave them a venue to have some events in, things like that. So they're still around because of that. And Trump and Dana are like best buddies. But yeah, to some degree, you got the guy's running for office, right? And he's an 80-year-old billionaire who loves nothing more than himself. Like that's who he is.
I was hoping you were going to say himself.
Yeah. So he's going to get on there and thump his chest and do all those things. But he did show a little bit of that human side. I thought, even in the first 8-10 minutes of the episode, when Joe asked him a question, like what it was like on your first day as president.
It took him asking him in like 5 times before he really got it out of him.
Right. I don't think Trump really got what he was asking to begin with, but he's talking about walking into the White House. and
he
how
was
that
wanting
felt.
to know emotion.
Right.
And
Well, emotion
Trump don't
and
convey emotion unless it's arrogance.
yeah, unless he's angry and he's calling down fire from heaven or whatever. But it was cool to see him go, hey, I was in the White House, and it was cooler than I thought it would be. And he made the point once that he's made most of his money on luxury, so he knows what a nice place looks like.
And he's like, the hallways are 25
Yeah,
foot wide.
he was blown away,
Yeah.
which is how I imagine I would feel walking into the White
Oh,
House.
for sure, yeah.
Even on like a tour, like forget being president, like just going to the White House and being like, hey, these famous people walked here and that happened over there and Lincoln did this, And,
Well, he just said in one part, he's like, I know you would probably think you go in the White House and it's like a bunch of steel doors and and I'm all like, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
a
like,
bunker.
nah, it's just nice wood. I'm sorry, nice stuff. It's just like a nice hotel. And I'm like, oh, well, he would know.
Yeah. Well, that's his thing, nice hotels. So that's why he's famous. But it really, it did show him as a human because he was overwhelmed, it seemed, by like the being in the White House. And he went on about the Lincoln bedroom forever. And just how cool it was to see like Abe Lincoln slept in that bed and to know that,
it was longer. It was a wonderful bed. It was a fantastic bed. It was the best bed they had back then.
Yeah, right. But
I mean, he did come off more personable. He did, he gave us some information that maybe a lot of people probably wouldn't even believe, about the voting frauds thing and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, we've heard all that before. And what I like is Joe Rogan being like, okay, well, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Like, why ain't you done anything with it?
Yeah.
That's kind of like my question is, well, you have all this information. Why ain't you done anything with it?
Yeah.
No answer, really.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of what I wondered. I was like, if you have all this stuff, like, I don't know, I guess maybe he thought if he's got all this stuff, right, and he could just have all these folks thrown in jail, maybe he thought it would just go away after he got in the White House. Like, you go to if you go to a pro wrestling match,
yeah.
So you see the guys get in the ring and they duke it out and they hit each other with chairs. And then they get in the same car together and go to the Waffle House afterwards, right? Yeah. And I think he thought that's how it was going to be. And they stayed after him the entire time. And I think now looking back, supposing he's got evidence to throw all these people in jail forever, like maybe he wishes he'd have done it.
Yeah, because, one of the big things he was saying when he ran, remember when he ran against Hillary the first time, he was like, you'll be in jail.
Lock her up,
and I was like, yeah, it's about time. Because I've been upset about what's the deal with the emails and our soldiers got killed and some other people and everything. I've been mad since that. Benghazi, is that Benghazi?
Yeah.
I've been mad at her since that. Like, she has never paid her penance for that.
Yeah.
And she's never going to. And I'm all like, he was going to be the one to make it happen.
Right.
And then it just went away.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of bitter about that.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I think he thought that everything was just going to blow away after he got inaugurated. And they're like, well, he's the president now. Because let's be real, like, people don't tell him no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He doesn't hear that. He doesn't hear dissenting opinions. Like, he hires people who do what he wants them to do, that kind of thing. But these people are not those people.
Yeah.
So they were going to continue the fight. And I really think he thought he was just going to blow over.
Well, he pretty much said he let her go.
Yeah.
They wanted me to go after her, and I said, no, let her go. And I'm like, well, 2 months ago, you said you was going to put her in jail.
Right.
So, whatever it is, what it is.
Yeah.
None of them do everything they say they're going to do.
Well, they don't. And that was kind of, he ran on Drain the Swamp. Well, there's still a swamp.
Yeah, there's still a swamp.
Yeah.
And we're not hearing it so much this time. Maybe that's what didn't get him elected last time.
Yeah.
If you put the fraud thing aside.
Well, he did say, he mentioned at one point, Joe was asking him, I think he asked him what he would have done different or what kind of mistakes he made or whatever. And he talked about hiring some of the wrong people.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know who he was supposed to hire when he got in there,
Yeah.
So I'm not a Washington guy. I've never been around Washington. He wasn't a politician. He was a donor, and he mentioned that. But he didn't know who his Secretary of the Treasury should have been or any of these offices. He said he had to fill 10,000 offices.
And he had people just coming to him saying, hey, I suggest this person.
Yeah, or I'll do it or whatever.
I guess you would know, so yeah, go ahead.
Right. So looking back now, he hired some bad people, which I thought was cool because I've never heard the dude admit a mistake ever.
He didn't admit that it was a mistake.
Yeah, right. Yeah, not on his part. It was a sort of mistake. It was like a secondary mistake.
It was a wonderful mistake.
It was the best mistake ever. Yeah. But he wasn't, I don't know, that was some honesty from him.
Yeah.
Some transparency, I guess, is the better word for it. But it wasn't that, none of his policy was bad. He rebuilt the military and took taxes from 39% to 21, whatever. Like I said, he's still running for office. And you can't afford to admit a real mistake if you're running for office.
Yeah.
Which is why none of these guys ever were like, yeah, we were wrong about that. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, I do like how he would talk about certain people when whoever was telling him it'd be cheaper to just leave all that stuff over there in the desert. And he's like, they're stupid. Yeah. They're completely dumb. They're stupid. And I'm like, yeah, but you still did it.
Yeah.
Still left it over there.
Yeah. Well, he was gone by then. That was a Joe Biden thing. Left all of our best toys in the sand over there.
Yeah, yeah.
But like you mentioned John Bolton, and John Bolton was instrumental in going into the Middle East with the Bushes way back to begin with. And then he hires John Bolton because people tell him, John Bolton's great, you should get him. And he was like, well, he's a bad person, but it was nice to have him when I had to go approach the Iranians because they were like, well, this guy will just bomb us. You know? So he, as much as derogatory as he is a lot of times toward people, like he's going to take his shots at people, but he gave Bolton that much credit. And was like, I mean, he's a bulldog, and if you got to have a bulldog, he's
I wouldn't necessarily hire him again, but he did what I needed him to do.
Yeah. Well, then the Robert E. Lee thing I thought was funny too, because he was talking about what a great tactician Robert E. Lee was. And one of the things that he talked about that he knew that people wouldn't associate with him, I guess, but he was like, yeah, he was a great strategic general. And Joe kind of called him and was like, do you mean strategic? And he was like, oh yeah, strategic.
Yeah, war-wise, he was a great general.
Right. But then people, like I saw it on social media, people going, oh, he loves that racist Robert E. Lee. Like, not what he said,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Genghis Khan wasn't a good dude.
Yeah.
Great at war.
Fantastic tactician and
great at war.
Good at war. Yeah.
And that's all he was saying. Was Robert E. Lee was like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't necessarily a great guy, just good at what he was doing.
Yeah, and that's all. Yeah, but people are gonna, and I mean, had Kamala Harris said something like that, somebody would have twisted her words too, just because that's what we do these days. But I don't know. Do you feel any different about him now?
No.
Same. All right, cool. Cut.
Not really. I mean, if I vote, I'm gonna vote for him.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to believe that out of all these people, that's our two best choices. But that's where we're at right now.
That's what he made that point in the episode. Remember, because he's like, "There's 8 billion people on Earth, and we have 350 million, and we're down to these 2." And I thought, was like, "Yeah, Don, that's kind of my point. This is where we are, bro."
We got all these brilliant minds out there too,
yeah.
And even people in the political arena with great minds and stuff that. We just need to pluck them and make them do it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wanted people to vote for Ron DeSantis when he was in there.
Yeah.
And it turns out that maybe J.D. Vance could have done the job, because he seems like he's got it together.
I do like him. He's growing on me a little more, yeah. I do like him.
I read his book several years ago, and I didn't know he was in office until right before he got picked for VP. I didn't realize he'd been elected. But
he got a big head, but...
I mean, look at my head.
Yeah,
dude.
I think I relate to him more because he grew up poor and all that too.
Yeah,
and I can get on his boat.
Yeah. There's talent out there. It just people in their allegiance to Trump, and they were like, "Well, if Ron DeSantis was good, he would have won." Like, no, if we'd voted for him, he would have won.
If it was if it just came down to who was good. And who was best for the job, there would be no Beyonce at the rallies.
Right.
Or, what's his name? The guy, the comedian guy that was at the Trump rally.
Oh, Hinchcliffe?
Yeah. Either way, if it just came down to the best person will get the job, then there would be no need in this popularity contest.
Yeah. Well, that's the best part, right, is that we pick our leader with a popularity contest. And, I love the Electoral College, and I think it's a great system, but it can be hijacked. And we're proof of that now because here we are. We've got this octogenarian versus this lady who just can't. She just can't. Like, whatever it is, she can't.
And up until a few months ago, we all agreed that she couldn't.
She in her own presidential campaign in 2020, she polled at less than 2%. She was the president that nobody wanted.
And now she's the candidate for that side.
The best. We love her. She's going to be the best president ever. No thanks. But she's not doing 3-hour sit-downs with podcasters who won't let her off the hook with softball questions.
Yeah. The woman cannot answer a question.
She can't.
I mean, Trump's not the best either. He goes in circles and circles, and he does his weave, as he calls it. He likes to do the weave. And that's cool. We do it too. But I haven't seen anybody ask Kamala a question and her just give an answer. It's always, well, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and we've done a lot, but we got to do a lot more. That's always going to be the case, woman.
Yeah. We got to prioritize the things that need to be prioritized.
Yeah, and it's not because she's a woman or that she's even a black woman. I would vote for Candace tomorrow.
Yeah. There's good people out there. I don't care what color you are.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I would vote for Candace. Ben Shapiro is the vice president tomorrow. Or any of that kind of combination.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it being a woman.
Yeah. For some folks, it does.
I mean, for some,
sadly, that's the reason that some people are going to vote. I know people, like, I'll be with a couple of them tomorrow night at a T-ball game, and they're like, we're voting for her because she's a woman. Man, I hope you don't watch this now. But, we're voting for her because we're excited about having a woman.
Isn't that sexist?
I mean, it is. And it's just not the best reason to vote for somebody.
Yeah, voting for somebody just because of what sex they are?
Yeah.
That's sexist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Reverse sexism.
Or not voting for somebody because of what sex they are.
Reverse sexism.
Yeah. So if we had two women running.
That's something.
Then what do you base your, if it was Tulsi and Kamala, like who do we vote for?
Tulsi.
I mean, obviously, like we do, but I mean, like, how do you pick
if
you're
her
looking
tomorrow too? And
yeah.
she was a Republican up till like last year.
She's growing on me.
I mean, she was a Democrat up until like last year.
But she's left, and I guess she's officially a Republican now.
Yeah,
because she had just left the Democrat Party for a while and was just kind of in independent limbo. But I think now she's
she announced she was going to join. I don't know if she has. I really don't even know. You got to get jumped in or something? Like, how's that work?
Blood in, blood out.
You
right?
just say, I'm a Republican now, so now you're a Republican? Where do you register to do that?
I don't know, man. I'd have to look it up, I guess.
If I voted Republican last time I voted, does that mean I'm a registered Republican?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then.
Well, I don't know. Because you can vote, you can cross over in primaries and vote for the other side. And that happens sometimes. Like all the Republicans will go vote in the Democrat primary and vote for the weak candidate and push them through.
That's good game right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's, there's a system. And if you can figure out how to manipulate it, then go get them.
Do you think that's what this local Republicans for Kamala is trying to do?
I think so. I don't think that's a real thing at all.
You don't?
No, I think they've made
It makes
signs.
me mad when I see it because I'm like, that's oxymoronic.
Yeah, there are no Republicans for Kamala. There might be Republicans that are not for Trump.
There might be people that are registered as Republicans that are for Kamala.
Yeah,
but they're not really conservatives.
Yeah, no, there are no conservatives. She just, bless her heart. I don't know what she's running on. Like, I don't even know what her
imagination.
I guess. I mean, like, it's going to be great. We're just going to keep doing things the way that Joe did, except I'm going to fix them.
And again, they ask her, well, you've been in there 4 years almost now. Why ain't you done anything? Well, we've done a lot of work.
Yeah.
We got a lot of work to do. Yeah. We could be unburdened by the This woman speaks in word salads and in circles, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I was reading the other day that we call it word salad, and they're like, well, you're just not smart enough to understand what she's saying. Well, like, no, I'm just waiting on it to make sense.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And
I'm waiting on a cognitive idea to come
something
out of
good,
her
right?
mouth.
Yeah. But I mean, so Trump is the other side of that. Like, this is where we are.
Yeah, I really can't. Like, the only thing I can tell people as far as like, I'm not okay with abortion.
Yeah.
That's where I stand with it. That's the only thing that he's really got going, other than I think the economy would be better with him.
Yeah.
I know it will be better with him.
Yeah. Well, the economy was better. Crime was lower. The border was secure. We had
less war. We
were energy independent. Less war. Like, stuff was better. Our life was better. And there's no way to look at that and say that wasn't true, because it was. Yeah. Our groceries weren't as expensive. Gas was cheaper. mortgage rates were lower. Like everything was just better. Now, he's a pig, and that's just who he is. Bless his heart. I don't know if I should call him a pig, but whatever. Maybe Tango will edit this out and let me off the hook. But people don't like the guy, and I understand that. Like, I get why somebody wouldn't like the dude. Like, I don't particularly like him.
I don't either.
But I mean, what are our choices? We did episode 160 a little while back, the enemy of my enemy. Like, and is that enough for us to put us over the top and vote for this guy because he's not her?
That's almost like what we were just talking about earlier, though.
Yeah.
It's kind of being hypocritical. But it's like I'm almost afraid that if I don't get involved and it goes bad, what if I find out, Kris, you're the one vote that could have made it?
Yeah, right. He lost by one vote.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I doubt that's going to be the case.
Yeah, but I mean, how many of us are there? Like
that's
the difference. Yeah,
probably a lot.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And who knows? Like up till this point, especially, I've been like, no, I'm just not going to vote this time. I'm going to vote down ballot. Whatever else is on there, I'll vote for my side and hope for the best of the president. But I can't vote for him again. Well, maybe I have to. And then who's to say when people of like mind go into the booth, like what's going to happen when they get there and the whole time they've been like, well, he's a pig and I can't vote for him. And then they go, oh, I don't want Kamala to be president. So, here it goes.
If I go to the voting booth, I'll vote for him.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, right? So if you can get yourself there and you go, well, the reality is these are my choices.
I know there's a lot of people out there praying we don't go to the voting booth.
Yeah, no, for sure. But you know what's funny, though? What I've discovered in all this is that this whole time I've been like, hey, I'm not voting for Trump again. And a lot of the Trump folks are like, well, you're voting for Kamala. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just not voting. But then the Kamala people, well, I'm like, I'm not voting for Kamala. And they're like, please don't vote for Trump. And I'm like, okay, I'm not. And they're like, okay, cool. And they're just good with it. They don't care if you don't vote for her, just don't vote for him. So like from our side, they're like, well, you can't not vote. And they're like, please, cool, don't vote. We'll just vote her in without you voting against us. Like, okay.
Yeah, you could look at that a couple of different ways, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at it as the evil side. Yeah, don't get involved. Let us have it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really hard, though, man, because, I mean, we try to base all our decisions and all that off of what Scripture tells us and things like that. And it's like, I hear people use Scripture to justify why you should be involved in politics. Mm-hmm. To me, when I read it, I feel like I'm not supposed to be so caught up in it.
Yeah.
But people turn that into their religion, and it's like, well, if you're not a part of my religion, you're against my religion.
Yeah.
And it's like all over again, the church scenarios all over again, or it's like, I don't agree with everything, so now I can't be a part of it.
Yeah. No, there are absolutely people out there who are worshiping at this point their political ideology, whatever it is. There's plenty of them on both sides.
And I can't find anything in Scripture that says I'm supposed to vote for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how people can justify it. With Scripture that you're supposed to be all caught up in these politics. I mean, if Scripture says God puts the leaders in their places and he sets these leaders in their places and all this kind of stuff, so is voting just kind of a ritual? And whatever's going to happen is going to happen regardless of what we do? Like, is God that in control?
Yeah. Or
is it free will?
Or is he using us to push the button to accomplish his will?
So many ways to look at it.
Yeah.
Man. So many ways to look at it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be God's will regardless. Like people point to Romans 13 and you got to submit yourself to the authorities because God places the authorities. Well, like look at what happened when Israel wanted a king. Well, they get, cool, have a king. It didn't last for very long. Like it didn't go well for long. Right. Yeah. Like you here, have it your way. Do what you want. Here's your king. Yeah, it didn't go well. So like that was still God's will. He was the one that finally was like, okay, cool, here's your king. And then, how it went. But even still, like it's our fault that Joe Biden, our fault or our credit, whichever side you're on, that Joe Biden's president right now. But it was God's will either way.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird to think about that like that.
It is. But I mean, you look at like Romans 8 talks about using the Pharaoh for who the Pharaoh was and direct persecution of God's chosen people. God used him.
He will use the foolish.
Yeah, to confound the wise. So, I mean, we get what we deserve. Like we earn it, right? I know, yeah. But I mean, it's not, we haven't done the right things. Up until recently, 70% of our country professed to be a Christian. And like, we ain't voting that way. That doesn't prove true in elections. And now it's less than 50, I think. But like, we just haven't been who we're supposed to be. So the fact that we got to choose between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is on us, And,
yeah, we got us here.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Good luck, y'all. I don't believe in luck, but good luck out there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we're supposed to glorify God with whatever happens.
Yeah.
Which means if Trump loses, you don't lose your mind.
Yeah. Go out and burn your city down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Of course, the conservative side never really does that.
Yeah. Somebody was like, what are you going to do if Kamala wins? I'm like, I'll go back to work the next day. Like, what am I supposed to do? Vote next time, hope for the best. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a good candidate next time.
Yeah, I doubt it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I like how both sides love to use the fear tactic because it's like they tell you if you vote for Trump, it'll be the last election we ever have.
Yeah.
Well, is he going to be able to get rid of the Constitution faster than the liberals have been able to?
Yeah. Well, that's what both sides are saying that though, right? If you don't vote for Trump, we may never have another election, and the Kamala people are saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's like, well, which one of them is planning on throwing away the Constitution?
Yeah. Both of them. Neither of them. I don't know. What's the truth? Because you can just lie. I was listening. I forget who. Maybe it was on Rogan. I don't know. They were talking about how Obama enacted legislation that made it okay for the government to use propaganda. They've always done it, but now it's just legal. They can just do it. When propaganda is not true. It's some version of the truth maybe, or it's the truth stretched out in some kind of way, but it's just not true. It's not honest. It's not accurate.
They can do whatever is needed for the good of the country.
Right. Yeah. We can lie to these people because they're all lemmings and we can just tell them what we want them to know.
And we're not making this up. They've been doing
it's a real thing
for a long time.
Forever. But now it's legal, right? Air quotes. You can just do it.
Which one of them? Was it Obama or has it been Biden that made it legal for them to shoot U.S. citizens?
Oh, that was recently. That was Biden. Yeah, they can just shoot us for disagreeing with them. Like,
what's that sound like?
It sounds like they have ripped up the Constitution.
It sounds like communist China.
Yeah, it does,
China.
Man. China. God, we got to vote for Trump, aren't we? Like we just have to. We're doomed.
Let's look at the world and how the world operates. What's the chances that we vote Trump in and everything just magically gets awesome?
About zero.
There you go.
Yeah. Over the course of 4 years, things, I think, assuming the guy lives to 82, maintains his faculties, and everything goes according to plan. He gets taxes he says, from 21% to 15%. He wants to get rid of the income tax altogether. We're like, okay, maybe that happens over 4 years. But we thought in 2016, maybe he drains the swamp. Mm-hmm. That just didn't happen.
Nope.
So,
Does he have a better track record than Kamala?
Yeah.
Politically.
Yeah. Politically, he does, yeah.
I don't know about personally. I probably personally, too, honestly.
Maybe, who knows?
She hasn't been watched as long as he has.
Yeah.
She was arm candy for celebrities back in the day. That's her qualification.
Yeah.
Of course, he was a celebrity, so that's his qualification.
Right, so this is what we're up against.
Yeah. It's just really hard for me I can't put my whole heart in it. I can't get that connected to it. Both sides irritate me daily on social media.
Yeah.
Especially when I see believers that are totally engulfed in the MAGA thing.
Yeah.
But the term maggots make me mad too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I'm not a MAGA, I'm just all like, when is this name calling crap going to stop? Like, why do we have to revert back to middle school tactics against each other about people that have never met us nor care about us that much?
It's just, this is where we are. And it's the mass psychosis, whatever, where you can convince groups of people to do all kinds of crazy things. But this is where we are. I mean, we've drawn our lines, and I'm on this side and you're on that side. And if you're not on my side, you're not for me, you're against me. I'm like, well, we've put our party affiliations, our ideologies above being Americans. And that's when our country goes in the toilet. Because once you've done that, once you've really drawn these lines, like, it's tough you can't go back.
I would say we put being Americans over being believers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And representing that first.
Yeah. Well, you put being American above being a believer, like by way of your faction, whatever it is.
That's not cool.
So, no, it's not. It's not. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you get back from that.
You don't.
Yeah, I guess.
Scripture.
Start your own colony and break off.
Prophecy tells us what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Nowhere does it say that, it does say that Jesus is going to come run things for 1,000 years, and that's going to be some cool time on earth. That's going to be wonderful. Yeah. But it doesn't say anything about any world leaders or anything coming. And the only world leader that's going to come and fix stuff is the bad one, the Antichrist. He's the one that's going to come and probably fix
the
starvation.
Of the Antichrist.
Yeah, he'll come and fix starvation and homelessness and all this. He will look like a savior.
Yeah.
And well, that's how he's going to get in that God position.
You can look, though, at people who are already filling that role. You look at like a Justin Trudeau. When he first came in, he was this young, good-looking guy that was this great speaker, and everybody's like, hey, we got to get behind him.
And he has slowly stripped away what little bit of freedom Canada had.
And now he's got his own people that are trying to run him out of office. And
you see him at the big meeting where they were all like this kind of cold shouldering him, wouldn't shake his hand and stuff. I'm like, oh, he's going to cry in the car.
Yeah, but that guy, though, is already around as far as that personality, that spirit goes. And we've got like Gavin Newsom out in California. He's the same guy. He's real slick and great talker. And I'm going to fix all these problems. Just make me your governor. And like, okay. Well,
is there anybody that likes Trudeau?
I mean, some people do. He's been elected, 2 or 3 times now? I'm not sure how their terms work.
That likes Gavin Newsom?
I don't think there is, but I think that people are so married to that ideology that they've just got to vote for him.
I always look, because Scripture says that he's going to come and he's going to fool a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, none of these guys have me fooled.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I know I got the Holy Spirit, so maybe he ain't going to be able to fool me anyway.
Yeah.
But I would like to think whoever it is going to fool more people than Trudeau or the California guy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the masses are going to be fooled.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. I wish I could remember the scripture. But when that spirit is described, though, it said is here even now. So it's been going on forever.
Yeah.
So we can look for like one guy, or we can see those qualities, those characteristics in a Trudeau or a Hitler. Hitler looked great when he first came on the scene, and I'm going to make the trains run on time, and everybody's going to have a job, and the economy's going to be great. And he did all of those things.
Through a mass extinction.
Right. Yeah, he killed millions of people. Like, man, that can't be good. But he was the same guy, right? This charismatic young guy, like, let's get it done. He was the Time magazine Man of the Year in like 1939, I think.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Just before the Holocaust, like, holy smokes.
Yeah, and he wasn't even the man.
Yeah, not
when
initially.
He started doing all that. He wasn't the man.
Yeah.
He was like a helper guy.
So it's there. So in this case, we've got an old dude. He's not a young, good-looking, Trudeau type. He's Donald Trump. He's the you're fired guy.
He's got a lot of very pretty family.
Yeah.
But he's not young and pretty.
I mean, he's 80 years old. It just, I don't know, man. Is he the answer? Is he the answer? Is he the answer? Is he the answer right now?
He may be the answer for now.
You know, like that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, man, does this buy us time? If we put him in there, does it buy us time?
4 more years to get it together.
And maybe next time we can get a Vance. And there's things about Vance that I don't like, but I'm never going to get the guy that I want. Otherwise, I would just have to run for president myself, you know, and like, who's going to vote for me?
Well, I wouldn't want the job.
Yeah, right. Who wants to, like, it's going to take like a psycho to kind of want that job. You know, you got to be a little bit unhinged to be like, oh, yeah, I can do that.
I kind of feel like it should be like mandatory only 2-year terms. And we just, civilians, it's kind of like jury duty.
You just get picked.
You just get picked, and it's like, hey, you're president this year.
You get to be president for 8 weeks at a time.
Yeah, and we do it. Like, I've heard, this ain't my idea. I heard it somebody else say it, but I'm like, it should be like jury duty.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense that we got to do jury duty. It's like, I've never been to law school. What do I know about court?
Right.
But now I got to take a day off and make $15 to decide somebody's, like, let somebody that's educated make that decision.
So imagine you get picked for president duty, right? You got to be the president for 2 months, 6 months, whatever it is. And like day one, they're like, sir, you got to come with us. We got to meet with Vladimir Putin right now. You're like, oh, okay.
Let me grab my Crocs.
I know. Let's roll. Get the good Crocs, man. But I mean, that's what I think about when I'm trying to decide between these two. I think about Putin and I think about Xi, the king of China or whatever he is. Like, who's going to sit across the table from Putin and be like, "Hey, man, this is how it is." Is that Kamala? Like, for real?
There and giggle.
That dude was in the KGB. Like, he's sneaky and he's good at it.
He's the real deal.
Yeah.
If I had to bet.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude, not only is he still jacked, but I mean, he's the Russian man.
Yeah. Yeah, there's video of him out riding horses with no shirt on, you know, and he's ripped up. He's 70 years old.
And our president falls off bicycles.
Yeah.
Which 80-something-year-old people are supposed to fall off bicycles.
Yeah, don't put the guy on a bicycle. Try and prove a point. Be like, no, he's still good to go. He's not. And we all knew it.
I do like how Trump was talking about they wanted us to sit down for the debate. I said, no, we weren't going to sit down. We have to stand.
Yeah.
Because Biden needs to sit down.
You got to give it to the guy, Trump. Like Rogan made the point. They talked for 3 hours. And I know, like, before I sit down to do a podcast, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And if I drink a bottle of water or two over the course of the show, like, I got to go pretty quick after. And we're not up for 3 hours. But he's like, Trump didn't use the bathroom the entire time. Before, after, 3 hours, during. Like, he's just rolling. And his tempo, his cadence, the same the entire time. Like, he never slowed down. We get an hour and a half into an episode, and I'm like, what are we going to say next?
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, where are we going? I'm kind of hungry, you know, whatever. Nah, this dude's ice cold. So I don't buy that he's cognitively declining.
Oh, no. He's all there.
Yeah, because I watched the day of the podcast, I had watched an old episode, interview he did with CNN from like 1991. Obviously, he's much younger, but in his speech, he's the same guy.
Yeah.
Like, holy smokes. He's 80 years old.
He's all there. He might be medicated. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. Most of us are these days.
All the great leaders are.
Yeah.
But he's definitely more cognitive than Biden by a landslide. He's more personable and believable, in my opinion, than Kamala.
Yeah.
Kamala. Sorry.
Whatever. Yeah. I don't know. From our perspective, he's the better of the two options.
Yeah.
Somebody was telling me, you can't vote for him if you're a Christian.
Well, how can I vote for Kamala if I'm a Christian?
That was my next question. Like, do you expect me to vote for her? You're at the wrong rally. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a TikTok about
Christ is king. You're at the wrong rally. Obviously.
And then she goes to a church and uses scripture.
Yeah. Well, damage control. At that point, she had to. Because there are some people who think they're Christians and go to church and they're going to support her. So she had to say, oh, no, I'm one of you too.
It's a good thing you want to keep the podcast clean because I could go off about that. You know what I mean? I can't remember the exact everything she said, but pretty much, God has ordained this as our destiny pretty much. And I'm like, woman, no.
Yeah.
We don't talk to the same God then.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And it may be that she wins and like whatever, and people will think she's right, but it ain't what's good for us. It's what we deserve because we've dropped the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I think democracy's in trouble regardless of who gets it next. The system is eating away democracy, not one person.
Well, what did Franklin say? This is a democracy. If you can keep it, and like it looks like we're not keeping it.
No, not at all.
So we're all going to go to the poll, next Tuesday, or maybe you voted early or whatever, and we're going to vote. Is that or the republic? He said, but our democratic republic that we live in, are we going to keep it? Is it important to us? I was having this conversation the other day, like if we condense this thing back down to one day, because now we've got anybody can mail their vote in. Anybody can mail their vote in. That was made for troops who were deployed overseas, right? Those guys can mail their vote. Now anybody can do it. We've got, I think here in Rome, we had like a month of early voting.
Yeah, we've been voting.
Yeah, for weeks now. Let's get it back to one day. Like one day. It's got to be important enough for you to get it done on that one day. Well, what about healthcare professionals? Well, make it a national holiday and pay everybody double time, and now you only work a 6-hour shift, so you got half your day to go get the vote done. Like, okay, cool. It's just got to be important. It's not important anymore.
Well, I mean, if it's a situation like my wife's a travel nurse.
Yeah.
She's out of town a lot. Those type of people, okay, let them mail in. Let them do the mail-in voting.
Right.
There's if you can prove you're a traveling professional, like truck drivers and stuff, they should be able to mail in vote too.
Right.
But just doing it just because you can't make it a half block down the road, I mean, no.
Yeah.
That's not okay. What I find really funny is last election, the Republicans were stone cold against that mail-in ballot.
Yeah.
I've got a thing in my mail every day from Trump the last month.
I ain't gotten any mail from Trump yet.
Mail in your ballot. Mail in your ballot. Yeah. And I'm all like, I thought we wasn't doing this. Now, I guess you got to do it to keep up with them.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to do it, I guess you got to do it. But I'm still like, still don't sit easy with me. We were all against this 4 years ago, but now it's a thing we're going to do. If we're going to be against it, we need to stay against it.
Right. That's where I'm coming from. I'm against it. Like, let's all vote in one day, because if I filed my vote, I think we started voting, what was it, October the 5th, October the 7th? Election day is November 5th. So we're looking at a month where my vote went somewhere. Like, it's somewhere. I don't know where it is or who's got it, but it's somewhere.
And there's like a catch-22 to it, because there's a lot of people that's already reporting that when they vote and then they print it out, it changes the name.
Yeah.
So if that's the case and that's happening, if you vote early, okay, maybe we can figure out how to fix it.
Right.
If we do it all on the same day, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But still, paper ballots day of, period.
That's it. And Trump says he's going to bring that back. So
you're not going to backwards technology.
Yeah.
No,
that's the problem.
Civilization ever has went backwards in technology willingly.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't believe that we'll go back to that. Maybe there's a universe where some states go back to one day voting, but I think it's electronic forever.
I think we get telephones that can read your thumbprint. And that's how we vote. If you're going to vote from home, we need an app. It reads your thumbprint. Boom. Our thumbprints are all on file anyway because of our driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, you don't get to vote. And
it should be harder.
Or if you don't have an ID or driver's license or driver's license, you don't get to vote. Yep. If you're not a citizen, you don't get to vote.
It should be harder to vote.
It's way harder to buy Sudafed.
Yeah.
You have to show an ID to buy Sudafed.
I got to show ID to go into Sam's Club and buy a watermelon.
Yeah, you got to show ID to buy a lot of over-the-counter stuff. You have to show ID to buy alcohol. You have to show ID to do a lot of things. But now it's illegal in California to ask for an ID at the voting booth.
That's crazy. Why would you not? Like, there's no good reason to not want to have
other than to cheat.
Yeah, that's
the only reason. Yeah. You can't tell me that people can't get IDs. I mean, to me, that is being even more racist than anything, is to insinuate, because that's what they said.
Yeah,
that's what
voter
they said.
ID is racist.
That's what. Well, they're trying to say that voter ID is racist. Well, that statement is racist, because now you're telling me that black people don't know how to get an ID.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to tell you this, but the what people would consider. I don't know what the right word is here, but look, black folks know more about the law than we could ever think of. So if you don't think they don't know how to get an ID, you've lost your mind.
Yeah. Dave Chappelle had a bit about that, right?
Did he?
Yeah, he was two guys out in the street about to commit some crime or whatever, and the old black guy runs out in the road and is like, "Don't do that. That's 5 to 10." You know, like,
right.
They know. So black people aren't stupid. They got the internet. They can find the DMV, get a license. Do all those things. So to say that voter ID laws are racist because black people don't have access is in fact racist.
And I also want to take the whole black white thing off the table for a minute and just say poor people in general.
There you go.
Because I don't want this to sound like it's going to say if I was just saying black people, because I was a poor white guy growing up, and my mom was a part of the welfare system, and she had to have an ID to get our food stamps and to register for food stamps and all this kind of stuff. To get government aid, she had to have an ID.
Yeah.
So poor people know how to get IDs.
Yeah.
I grew up poor. I knew where to get an ID.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's common knowledge. If you have a birth certificate and social security card, which is what citizens are supposed to have here, maybe not the birth certificate, but social security card.
Yeah. You got all those things.
You can get everything you need to have in this country.
Tango, you with us? Okay.
Tango dipped out for a little while.
He did.
We have been unproduced.
Unsupervised is what we've been. It's all good, though. Man, you missed probably the best episode of this podcast we've ever done. I don't know. It's not over yet, and I don't know if it was the best anyway, but,
It's been a better pace than usual.
Yeah, it's been good.
Okay.
Did you watch the podcast?
Yeah. I watched it like an hour after it came out at like 2:00 in the morning.
What's your takeaway?
My takeaway is it humanized him. It showed you a side of Trump that a lot of people didn't expect. How much of a weird architecture nerd he is.
Oh yeah.
There was that when he walked in and he was just like freaking out on the White House, and he's like, "This is so beautiful."
Yeah.
And Joe was like, "Dude, okay, we get it. It's cool, but let's get in." I was kind of really hoping to hear more about the aliens and the secret thing.
That was my biggest disappointment. I really expected Joe Rogan to go in on that. I mean, Joe, you're never going to see this, but if you ever see a clip of it, I expected more alien talk.
I wanted more talk out of some things like that. That's what that noise is.
I couldn't tell if it was mine or yours.
I was just expecting him to come on there and be like, all right, look, Joe, aliens are real. Colonel Sanders killed JFK. I wanted all the business, man. I wanted the tea.
Well,
I didn't get it.
Running for president again, so he can't just let it all.
He couldn't spill everything, but he did say he was going to release more of the JFK files.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I was really impressed to hear that he is going to keep RFK in his on his team.
Yeah.
And he's just not going to let him touch the oil because you can't let RFK touch oil.
He's going to let him do food.
Yeah.
Let him take care of the health system.
Yeah.
And RFK will get it done.
Yeah, he'll be good at that.
I mean, we may all sound like we've been smoking for 67 years and be jacked out of our minds, but,
I don't like hearing him talk.
He's
him.
Got a condition. It's a thing.
Yeah. It's not his fault. It's something that happened to him, but man,
the brain worms.
It's hard. Yeah. It's tough.
Excited to hear maybe what Tulsi Gabbard's gonna do for the administration.
We'll see.
It's gonna be a banger.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll run next time.
Yeah, at least
again,
if we can get some good candidates and just raise the quality of the candidate overall. If she's got say Trump wins, well, say he was going to run for a second term next time, and I don't particularly like him, but if Tulsi runs and Vance runs his own campaign and Ron DeSantis runs, so now Trump's got to be better, so we can raise the quality by at least getting better
people around him.
Yeah.
Which seems like that's what he's doing now. I mean, he's got a couple of ex-Democrats with him now.
Well, I thought I was listening to his episode with Dave Ramsey, and they were talking about his businesses and how do you can't be at all these places at one time. And he's like, well, I hire fantastic people to take care of these things.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know who to hire when he was in government, but to run a hotel, he knows who to hire, who to talk to. So that's what he's doing. And hopefully he's learned enough from his last stint in the White House that he can hire good people this time. And get things done.
That was something he talked about that I love to hear, because he admitted it. He's like, I hired some dudes who sucked.
Yeah.
And was trash.
Yeah.
These guys were trash, and they had been told that they were good, and he had 10,000 appointments to make, but really 100 important ones. And
you can tell Tango missed most of the show.
No, he wants Tulsi to run the social campaign in Floyd County.
I would love that. I would love to get rid of MTG.
Oh, they're gonna come after us now. Nice going. This is.
I'll take the doctor over her.
Man, we could have had a brain surgeon.
But no.
Let's not go down that road, because we're not going to agree.
They'll be here in a few minutes if they hear this.
I'd rather have Marjorie.
Not live.
I'd rather have Marjorie than that doctor.
You like Marjorie better than John?
Yep.
Why? I get it. It's fun. Whatever. She was.
Do I like her? No.
Yeah,
I think she's a lot like Trump. But she's also a needed change that needs to happen. Like, she speaks out of her rear sometimes. Okay,
she was space lasers.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but it needed a little mix up. Maybe it could have been a little better or different, but it needed a mix up.
Yeah,
and I don't trust the doctor. To me, it was just a little too fake. That whole picture with the gun and all that. I'm like,
that was a little cheesy.
You look like walls right there, man.
But they were.
But that was her picture too. Her pictures looked fake as mess, and her little.
That was all those candidates. We had like 11 candidates in that race, and they all took pictures with their AR-15s, their hunting vest, with the creases still in them because they never actually used them before.
And then like she pops into Floyd County and takes a picture in her little gym. And her little workout stuff once a week. And she's like, oh, look at me. I'm in Floyd County working. No, you're not. Stop lying. You're down in Atlanta. You're not living here.
I've seen her here. She's been here.
She has been here.
I've met her once or twice. Got to talk to her a couple times.
I have too.
Yeah.
We don't agree.
Yeah. No, it's, but that just, is what it is.
The libertarian in me does not.
Two people, right. Yeah. You put two people in the same room. They're going to be things.
I would rather go that route than any route.
Libertarian?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man, but who did they run this time? Have you seen the libertarian candidate? He's a Marxist. He's not libertarian at all.
No, because they didn't run Dave Smith. Dave didn't run.
Yeah, Dave didn't run.
It's
Chase, I forget the guy's name. Chance. I don't know. It's not good. He's not a libertarian.
No.
The libertarian ideology, as far as, just stick to the Constitution.
Yeah.
And we'll be good. And get rid of all this fluff.
Yeah.
That's the way I understand it.
If we had a Ron Paul libertarian, like I'm in, but like Gary Johnson and his weed stuff, and you're like, come on, man, just be a good candidate. Like, you don't have to put on a show, just be a good candidate. That and like they announced their candidate way into the race, and I guess they don't have the money to run like a long campaign or whatever, but like you have to try.
At this point, it's too late in the game, dude.
Yeah, you can't just show up and be like, we're here too. Well, like, you weren't planning on getting elected, were you? Because that's not how it goes. I even heard of them,
and we're a week away.
Yeah. He's been around for a while, but it just hasn't been good.
I mean, Trump talked about it. It's a two-party system, and it's going to be that way for a long time. He talked about it in the interview. He said, this is how it's built this way, and this is what it's going to be.
I don't want to feed into the narrative
fix it
of the left, but he has said a few times, I remember hearing him say it a while back, vote me in and we won't have to do this again.
Yeah.
I don't like the way that sounds. That sounds like you're wanting to do away with the Constitution, man. Like you don't want to continue having elections.
Yeah. Well, I wish Rogan or somebody had talked about that. Yeah.
So you hear that, but do you know the context of all
I don't.
of it?
Well, I don't.
Okay,
That's
so you just hear the clips. So it's, I'm going to make things so good if you vote me in that you'll feel like you don't have to vote again because we fixed things and you don't have to worry. That's where he's going with it. It's not that I'm going to
make
Hitler.
Myself king.
Yeah, I'm not going to be
That's
Hitler.
not the way it came across to me, though.
Yeah.
So
it came across as the king thing.
So when you hear it out of context like that, it sounds bad. But when you hear it in the full context, kind of like when you read the Bible, and you just pull a verse out, and you're like, that's something cool.
Right.
Yeah. Read the context in between.
I'd go back and dig that up, I guess. And
so there's context with that. So that kind of makes me feel a little less weird about him. Still weird on him, but
Yeah.
I'll take him.
Yeah.
He's made some bad choices. Abolishing the IRS, getting rid of tax on tips and no tax on overtime. Fantastic.
The Department of, this is going to bring out the torches and pitchforks, the Department of Education.
Get rid of them.
Can so go.
Burn it all down. Burn all the ships.
Yeah.
Okay, now, if you're going to say that, what do you plan to replace it with?
The states.
You give it back to the states.
When I worked in public school, my money, I was paid from federal money. So when I was saying, hey, we should get rid of the Department of Education, they go, well, you're the first one to lose your job.
Well, no.
Up front. So if we abolish the Department of Education, they can't pay me anymore. But that means that my state never had to send that money to the federal government. We send them dollars and they send us back nickels. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we're not sending that money, we can run like the people here in Floyd County, like know what works for Floyd County, right? But the people in Washington think the same thing works in Floyd County that works in like Tucson, Arizona. It's the same thing. Like, we'll just do all the same stuff. Well, that's not good. That's not how it works.
Okay.
It's different people, different kids.
That's better because I always hear people say that.
Yeah.
But they never say that.
No, there needs to be,
That we have to have an education system.
Once again, context.
Yes.
So burn all the ships. We get rid of the Department of Education. We get rid of the IRS.
You'll hear no argument over the IRS or CIA.
You completely
we
get
might
rid,
need some CIA.
You gut the entire DOJ and restart from scratch.
Yeah.
You give everything back to the states. The whole point of having a president is just to have somebody oversee and kind of guide the states.
Yeah.
It's not the supreme ruler, which is kind of what it's become.
Right.
Your job as president is to basically be a plumber and go in there and kind of settle problems.
Yeah.
Well, it's came from a public servant to elite.
So
Right.
yeah, that's where we need to get back to, and that's what I'm kind of hoping out of him. Let's see.
The crazy thing is,
There's
like,
a lot of things
I
want
agree
to
with
see.
handing stuff over to the state.
Mm-hmm.
But what's that mean in places like California where the state has lost their mind? Like, what are they going to be able to do to those kids if they're ungoverned by the government?
It depends on your county, I think, at that point, or your governor on
because
how
they're
it
like
works.
wanting to be able to take your kid during school
Well,
and chop it off just because they feel like it's supposed to be chopped off and then send them back home to you.
Yeah,
Once
well, that's where
again-
things like school choice and homeschooling come into play. And like, I didn't like what was going on in the school system, so I got my kids out of it.
Well,
Like, they're gone. Your kid goes to private school. Like, we didn't like what we saw, so we made things happen.
in context, most of California is pretty red. The biggest part is
Well, it's like Georgia,
Hollywood.
Atlanta ruins it. For
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
whole
the
state.
big
Hollywood,
cities.
LA ruins it. San Fran ruins it.
Yeah.
You go up to North California, 100% redneck as
Yeah.
redneck can be. They're drinking moonshine out of Nowheresville in the middle of the canyons because I've done it with them in Malibu with the most redneck of redneck Californians, and I'm like, this is awesome. So you meet some cool people out there, and they all don't believe in this weird CRT stuff, and we kind of need to get rid of a lot of that and
Yeah.
give it back to parents in the state.
We
Just
need
let-
common decency laws where the school isn't allowed to discuss sex with your children at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
shouldn't
mean,
be a
and
thing.
you can't hark on kids and tell them just because they were born white that they're inherently racist and that it's their fault
Yeah.
that somebody 100+ years ago was a slave. Sorry, that's just not a thing. Like,
And not only that, it has the
Don't-
reverse effect of what a lot of people, they think, okay, well, we're educating the white kids.
yeah, but
okay?
you're blaming them and calling them racist, and
Well,
you're telling
and
them
you're-
they have to be anti-racist, which is not a thing.
And you're simultaneously telling all the black kids in their room that they're not as good as the white kids. The white kids got to have it better than y'all.
Yeah.
They're better
Yeah.
than y'all.
Trust me, I grew up poor. There was no delineation. Like, we were all the same.
Yeah.
Black, white, Mexican, yellow, all of us. Didn't matter.
Like Theo
we
Vaughn
all
said,
struggled.
I grew up poor. It wasn't a black and white thing. It kind of
Yeah.
felt like it was happening to all of us.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I mean, we all kind of ate the same thing. Ain't much different. I grew up in Section 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
me too.
I was born and grew up in a middle class family. Isn't that what Kamala keeps saying?
That's the answer to every
everything.
question. So
Yeah,
what do you
I
want for drink? What do you want to drink, Kamala? Well, I grew up in a hard middle class family.
Yeah. Yeah.
We like Dr. Pepper.
Man, yeah.
The most agnostic of drinks. It's not a cola. It's not a root beer.
Dr. Thunder, not even Dr. Pepper. Give me the
Dr.
Sam's.
Thunder never got his degree. He's a fake doctor.
That's tough. Like that Bill Nye, right? He's no science guy. Man.
He's just an engineer.
I don't know. We're in bad shape. If you hadn't started praying for the country yet, now's a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Pray for some good leadership to come, some decent choices. I mean, whoever.
It just makes our state and local elections super important.
Pray for the hearts of the people.
Yeah.
That's where it really matters. When you want to change the country, you change it locally first. You start there because that's going to determine a lot more things. Because when you're in like the state level voting, that's where you get to decide kind of where your districts are going to be. Yeah. Gerrymandering happens when you vote state and local.
Mm-hmm.
So what determines the rest of the country is really your local, because you're able to kind of figure out how you're going to build that. So here in the state of Georgia, we kind of got to fix Atlanta. We got to focus on that. We got to focus on a lot of problems.
Cut Atlanta off and just let them have their own electoral votes and
let them be their own thing.
Also, we need to do them like they do. Which one is it Wyoming or Nebraska that has the little itty bitty section inside of it?
Like its own nation or whatever.
Well, where it had no.
There's actually a part at the north of one of them states that's not covered by either place, and it's any law is legal there because there's no.
Yeah, there's no like law enforcement or whatever.
But what I'm talking about is electoral college votes. There's a spot, I think it's in Nebraska, where they get their own votes inside of Nebraska that are separate.
Huh.
It's So like, in theory, this is how we get that 269 split.
Okay, because of that one little pocket that's different. I got you.
Yep.
They can go against their own state. I've heard of this before now that you mention it, and I can't remember if it's...
And
how does not just counting votes, why is that not enough? I know people say, well, it's because Pennsylvania wouldn't get as big of a voice as Texas.
Yeah.
It don't matter. They're part of the American population voting on president.
Is that if you live in Wyoming, like it doesn't matter. Because like, what is it, like 100,000 people live in Wyoming or something? So they're like New York and Los Angeles and Dallas can elect the president.
Yeah, so it would basically come down to New York, Dallas, Atlanta, all these major cities. They decide who the president is instead of the rest of the 48.
Like California gets 55, I think, electoral votes. And like your party gets all the votes. Not like you get to split them even with like a 41 to 49 split in your state. It all goes that way regardless.
Yeah. So that's why we have land that votes instead of individuals. That's really kind of where the college comes in. But the electoral college is not bound by anything to say they're going to vote for the candidate that their locality chose, which has happened during Bush-Gore.
Which means the electoral college don't mean nothing.
Well,
if they can decide either way at the end,
I don't know. It's not happened more than once or twice ever.
But why did it happen then?
Our electors and our local votes matter, because when we vote in local trust, we know we can trust them to pick the best set of electors who we're going to trust.
Yeah.
So that's when it comes back to that local thing, rather than voting for some corrupt politician who's been doing it for years and years and years and they get super PAC money. I mean, it just doesn't work.
Speaking of local, we need to do some different voting there too.
Yeah. All across the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
I live in Bartow County.
Do you?
Are we in Bartow? We're that far?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we could be in Bartow. We could be. Is it Daresville in Bartow County?
I thought we were in Gordon.
Is it Daresville in Gordon County?
Daresville's Bartow.
Ooh, but Bucky's is Calhoun.
That's Gordon.
Bucky's is in Gordon.
I was there Saturday.
Tell you what, this is not. It's Polk County. We are not in Polk County, Georgia.
I wish I was.
We might be in Bartow, though. Whether we're in Bartow or Floyd, we could throw a rock and hit the other one.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's not like we're going to be like, well, the address is this. Where do you think it is? Anyway.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Somebody on Reddit is like stalking us down right now. They're going to come find us.
They can try.
I don't know. It'd be pretty tough based on what we give them here to find us. I mean, like, I think there's some pictures that give us away, like where we are, or at least the town that we have an affinity for, whether we live there or not.
Just 2 pictures. One of those is in the middle of Utah. No, Nevada.
This one?
Yep, the road. That's in Nevada. It's part of the loneliest road out near Great Basin.
They're working on the clock tower right now.
Yeah,
what's up?
It's just time. They redid it in, I don't know, probably the 80s, maybe the 90s. They repainted it and all that stuff. I hadn't either. Every kid in the county goes up there for a field trip, and I was out of school that day, I guess.
I guess me too.
I drove a field trip there once, but there was nowhere to park the bus. So I had to let the kids out with some other teachers and like drive laps while they got to go up and live my dream. Bless their hearts. I love Rome, whether we're there or not right now.
Yeah.
We used to be. We were right downtown. Now we're out in the sticks.
I used to love Rome.
I mean, I still love Rome.
I still love Rome. It's just aggravating me.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd be aggravated somewhere else too. I lived in Dahlonega, and I was like, man, I love Dahlonega. But like one mean lady owned all of the rental property in town, and like I was like, I don't love Dahlonega anymore. Bless her heart.
Bless.
Yeah.
I could live in Dahlonega. I couldn't live in Helen.
I could live in Helen.
I couldn't
Helen's
look at that
cheesy.
every day.
Yeah,
it is cheesy.
I like Dahlonega. I've always said I'd retire there. Get me a job in the gold mine, grow a long beard.
That's living that libertarian lifestyle.
Yeah,
down by
they
the
call
van
me
in the
Miner
river.
Dan. I'd be down there with my scooter riding back and forth.
I want to disappear to the Tennessee mountains or maybe the Cohutta area.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Where would you disappear to? That's a good social media poll.
Yeah, it is.
If you could disappear anywhere, where would you go?
You're hearing it first.
We're gonna disappear. We're done here.
I think we have milked this cow.
We have. But we'll see how it shakes out, I guess, and
make sure you go to vote or don't,
whatever. Just do what pray about it either way, and
for sure.
Do
have peace about whatever decision you make.
That's it. Well, that's where we're gonna jump off. Thank y'all for being here tonight. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you. We love you. See you next time.